So USPK was started in 2017, 2018, kind of in the crossover between that. And a lot of that had to do with what was going on with the International Federation of Gymnastics, or FIG, announcing in, I think, 2016 that they were unilaterally going to, take over parkour, and that was going to be a subdiscipline of gymnastics in the Olympics. And while, of course, I think there were plenty of folks in parkour that were kind of like, ooh, the Olympics, that could be interesting. At large, the community was very much like very against gymnastics taking that over, because we feel that we're, completely different philosophically, physically. Gymnastics is about, high level body awareness and control, but on very specific obstacles, right? Like it's been whittled down over 100 years to, pommel horse, rings, trampolines, very specific objects, versus parkour was basically like everything around you. And, everyone is saying hell no to like a 700-page rule book, which is what gymnastics currently has. So the idea of gymnastics coming in and kind of like taking that over was very upsetting. And you had, I think, a pretty typical reaction from the parkour community, and the fact that everyone wanted to make fuck fig, t-shirts. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to swear on this.
Oh, you can say whatever the fuck you want.
Okay.
Here on High
Sweet. Well, shit. All right. So yeah. I mean, everyone was very gung ho about making the fuck fig t-shirts, but at the same time, it's just like, what is that going to do? And I think that is part of where USPK comes in, is as a community, we kind of have to mature and get to that point of like, yeah, we can tell somebody to fuck off, but if they have, millions, billions of dollars of money invested into their sport, and they felt like they could come in and do this, I think, because there wasn't any governing body internationally or nationally. And so they just thought this is for the taking. And I think a lot of people don't know that, this was prefaced by the International Olympic Committee, or the IOC, commissioning a study. They basically said, like, we don't know why young kids aren't watching the Olympics anymore. How do we get these kids watching the Olympics? And they commissioned a study. They got a bunch of scientists to go out and kind of figure this out. And it was like action sports. That's what kids are watching: the X Games, skateboarding, snowboarding, all of these things. And sure, some of them, like snowboarding, had already kind of made the crossover into the Olympic space, with a lot of controversy there too, between skiing and snowboarding.
Because they did get adopted. Was it under the skiing?
Skiing
was the, gymnastics is to parkour as skiing was to snowboarding in this analogy. And I don't know where that went actually, but
what was super controversial, I think most of the skiing community kind of had a very, I don't know, what's the word for it, kind of pretentious, look on things, and just all these snowboarders are just stoners that are going to come in and ruin this.
To this day, there's ski resorts that don't allow snowboarders at them. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It's an old money type of thing, and so snowboarding was the new hip thing that they wanted to bring in. But it was like, okay, how are they going to do that? And so a lot of folks within snowboarding too were kind of torn about that, because they want the sport to grow, they want to be able to share the mountain. And I think that was a lot of the impetus for folks in the snowboarding community to get behind that, even if it was under skiing, was, hey, we want access, we want to be able to use the lifts. Like nobody wants to hike up the mountain for the 30-second joyride down. So I think that's how a lot of that began. And then the IOC wanted these other action sports, and for gymnastics they felt like the closest fit was parkour. And but the funny part is that study actually specifically said that they should reach out to these grassroots communities. They acknowledged that there were so many communities that were really underground and could use help being brought up to this next level and integrated into the older federations. And as we've seen, most of these older federations don't like to play that way. They're a little bit corrupt. They've existed for a while, and they're just like, that's mine. I have the money. I have the power. And now you have to do what I say. And so we're really trying to push back for that specific reason, because we've seen that happen with other action sports. So we really have no immediate reason to trust gymnastics right off the bat, because we've seen this before with other sports.